The Blocktalk Podcast started because of my passion for the property management industry. I wanted to start a conversation and add some value within the industry with a diverse range of people and professionals who can add something extra. As we start out, my aim is that the podcast offers some useful insight into a variety of views, opinions, thoughts, and foresights from our guests, who include business leaders and industry experts. If you enjoy the podcast and want to find out any other information, head on over to brianwelsh.co.uk. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Blocktalk Podcast with me, Brian Welsh, and Jax Bruce. Jax, how are you today?
Yes, very well. I feel like it's been a while since we've recorded a podcast. We had quite a bit of a run there for a wee while, but it's sort of slowing down as we're getting towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to be back on again, recording something. How are you?
I'm great. I'm in the south just now, and it is miserable, utterly miserable. Wind and rain for days on end. So I keep getting blamed when I come down here from bringing Glasgow weather down, but I'm sure that's not
it's
true.
Blue skies outside here.
It's certainly not here. It is certainly not here. Okay, so today we have the pleasure of speaking to Ross Watt, Newton Property Management's Northern Scotland Managing Director, appointed in 2018 and based in their Aberdeen office. Ross joined Newton following the merger with his own property management business, Watt & Co., who I knew very well as well. Ross manages the Aberdeen and Inverness teams and has been integral to Newton's growth and digital plans. Ross, it's great to have you on. Thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Very well. I'm sitting in Aberdeen in the sunshine just now, so I have no sympathy for your weather down south.
Yeah, I know. It always happens when I come down here. I don't know what it is. It must be an omen of some description. Okay, so you've been managing director. I knew you obviously with Watt & Co, but then you kind of merged with Newton. You've been managing director at Newton for 4 years now. How have those 4 years been for you, and what has been your biggest challenge in that time?
Well, I think it's important to say that I'm a managing director for the North only. And I've been a main board member with Newton since I joined the business in 2015.
Right.
Which was obviously a bit of a step change for me personally, going from small time factor, sort of used to doing his own thing, to joining a much bigger beast. Yeah. I think in terms of challenges, I mean, factors in general are not afraid of a challenge. It's what we're paid to do. We're professional problem solvers. Yeah. And aside from the main ones that we're all facing just now, your cost of living, COVID, interest rates that we're going to hear more about later, in cladding, I think it's been a challenge for us to manage the growth. When I first met Stephen and the team at Newton, they were looking after 9,000 properties, and it's now up at almost 30,000 properties. Wow, now, I'm not taking all the credit for that, but I think most of it is probably should come to my door.
Right, okay.
So, I mean, and the challenge around that, of course, is how to upscale our business processes to satisfy that growing demand for the product that we offer, and at the same time, making sure that the product and the service that the existing customers joined us for stays the same and stays strong. So that, I think, has been the biggest one that we've seen up here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've worked for a number, pre-CPL and stuff, I've worked for a number of businesses who did a lot of consolidation, and that change management when you bring other people, because that growth has been acquisition and organic, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a mix.
Yeah. So both of those bring their challenges. Because I get what you mean. I remember when CPL had 3 people. I think I even did our invoicing. So you do things at that size where you just could not even dream of doing when you get to 30,000 units. So,
yes. Yeah, it was the same in the Watt & Co days. I was doing the payroll, I was doing the marketing, I was doing our accounts, and I was managing the properties. And then I remember when the Newton deal had gone through, and we had an accounts team, a marketing team, HR, and it was 5:00 and I was finished work. I couldn't believe it. This hadn't happened to me for years and years.
Yeah, no, I get that one. I bet you don't finish at 5 these days, though.
No, unfortunately not. No.
So your focus is on digital efficiencies. Can you tell us more about what that's all about?
It's one of my focuses, certainly. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that the best way I can describe it is I was asked to come up with a mission statement for it really recently, and the one I came up with is how to best use technology to better serve our customers without adversely affecting administrative efficiencies.
Okay.
Now try and say that quickly.
Yeah. Well, okay. It's a good one, though. It's a good one, though.
It's good. I like it. I'm going to get it written on a wall somewhere, I think. I mean, we're looking at all aspects of our business and how technology can enable us to maintain communication with our customers throughout their journey with us, from inquiry to appointment to welcome packs. Once they're under management, how can we keep track of what they need and what they expect of us information wise? And then obviously when they exit the property, when they sell the property, that communication continues, and how can we use technology to really deliver that for them. And we're also looking at the contractors. I think we touched on this when we met the other day there, but visibility of what our contractors are doing when they're out on the managed developments.
Yeah.
And how can we make that whole process more efficient? And bear in mind that people often tend to think of factors as entities who carry out repairs, but there's a whole lot behind the scenes that we carry out, compliance activities, core maintenance, etc. And the third string to that is our own systems, our HR systems, our office communications. We've got 3 offices, 3 fully manned offices in Aberdeen, Inverness, and Glasgow.
Yeah.
And how can we keep them talking efficiently? How can we make sure that everybody here feels like they're part of Newton and they're not just part of Watt & Co with a different badge?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. And I guess that the relationship that we have, we can help with the first 2 of those, but the last one is not something that we deal with.
We're on our own.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, or with. I've obviously spoken to the guys who look after your IT infrastructure over the years. And I think you changed that a couple of years ago, and the guys you have in place now are pretty top notch, and they know what they're doing. So I guess that will massively help. But if you don't have the internal processes to support that, then that you can have as much great infrastructure and great digital tools at your disposal. But if you don't have the processes to take advantage of them, then it just doesn't work.
Yeah, and I think as well, you can have 4 or 5 fantastic systems, but if they don't talk to each other and they don't integrate very well, it's you're going to lose things in the cracks between the systems, or people are not going to fully engage with all the systems they need to. So that again, we've spoken about this, is how you pull it all together and make it one cohesive product. So the staff here, can move between them all seamlessly.
Yeah. And the other thing, you've got to have somewhere that is your master data set, isn't there? You've got to have one that says that is the Bible. And if anything else is out of sync, then you know where to go. But, it should never be out of sync, but or you would hope.
In theory,
In
theory, yeah. And that's exactly it. You've got to know exactly what is sacrosanct, what can't be touched, and everything else reads that and takes the nod from there.
Okay, excellent. So does your, apart from having better weather, obviously, does your North office experience different challenges to your Central Belt offices?
Definitely. I think if we're talking just about the stock, when I started Watt & Co, I couldn't have gone to the developers and said, I promise I'm going to be a really good factor. So I had to build the business looking after sort of the older tenemental stock.
Sure.
And that with it sort of means even now, many years later, that brings with its own challenges. We've become known up here for the factors who can look after older properties.
Right.
But because there's not that same, I'm trying to think of the right word, that same sort of culture around factoring up here, I presume in Glasgow, or I know that in Glasgow, factoring has been on the go for a lot longer, and it's a lot more widely accepted.
Yeah.
Where up here, people don't tend to have any real understanding of what a factor does until they're, they have one, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
So it becomes almost like an education piece and letting the customers know what we can and can't do. And if you bear in mind, a lot of our stock could be well over 100 years old, but the new ones that come onto us, the new instructions might not have any maintenance done for the last 20 years. And that in itself is a real challenge, trying to explain to people, why they have to pay for the roof even though they're on the ground floor, or why, it's important to have a well-lit stairwell, etc.
Yeah. No, I get it. I think this is something that comes up time and time and again on this podcast. It's education. You've got first-time buyers.
Mm-hmm.
First-time buyers who really probably don't understand what the factor is, because if they've been letting a property for or renting a property for, I should say, for 10 years, the landlord deals with the factor. They don't even touch it. You know what I mean? They've got a problem. They phone a letting agent. And then you've also got these guys downsizing as well, and they're like, what's this? I always remember, and I think I've spoken about this before. I was sitting at a dinner once, and I told someone what I did for a living, the person next to me, and this person was an accountant, I think, is it from memory, and the minute she found out what I did, she went, "Oh, my factor is XX, and I've been paying them money for years, and then suddenly there's a fault in this courtyard, and they want us to pay to fix it," and I'm like, well, it's your property. Who else is going to pay for it? So I think there's a and I know that factors and the PMAS and lots of people try and educate it, but if it's not something you've ever come across, then it's not really something you understand, I guess.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, we get some quite unusual inquiries even now. I'm just trying to think of some recent ones. We had an owner who reported that they believed their neighbour had stolen their watch from their flat, and they reported it to the factor instead of the police. And it's nice that they think that we can help, but unfortunately, there's not much we can do in that situation. So we just have to explain, very politely that no, this is a crime, so it's not something that we're going to arrive with handcuffs or deal with that for you, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. So, do you have the same issues around flat owners' responsibilities around repairs and maintenance of their building?
Yes, I think largely we do. I think there's a lot of peculiarities. I said more in terms of the build of the developments that we look after in the north, but the issues themselves are largely the same. And I think a lot of those can be addressed through, as we've discussed, communication and education. You very rarely have an owner complain that we're sending them too much information. It's usually the opposite. That we want to get to a point where when an owner's invoice arrives, they don't have to question every line item because they'll know what's going on. They'll have been aware that there was a roof repair that had to be done, or they'll have confirmation from us that the gutters have been cleared with sort of before and after images. And I think if we can maintain that, it makes our job a lot easier.
And I guess that comes back to your digital stuff as well, of making sure that information is available at your client's fingertips, I guess. Yeah,
exactly, but without adversely affecting our administrative efficiencies, Brian.
Yeah.
So
obviously I forgot that bit. Yeah.
Don't forget the mission statement. But I think that is important, because people now more than ever want to be involved in the management of their own property. And it, gone are the days where the factor was some figure on high who dictated to the owners how the building would be maintained and how much that would cost. So bringing the customers with us is hugely important, and that's what we need to, companies like yourselves to help us with, and really help us produce these products that will do that for us.
Yeah, and I think I probably know the answer to this question, but is there the same level of cladding issues up in the north that there is maybe in the central belt, or is that a daft thing to ask?
It's really not a daft question. It's there, in our experience, there's not the same level up here. Right, the build materials tend to be different. We do have a number of developments that have cedar cladding on high, which will all have to be looked at, of course, as part of the ongoing issues there. But certainly I know my colleagues in Glasgow have more going on in that department than we do.
Okay, but that, I guess that could also be because of the amount of different properties in the portfolio down there, or do you guys have a fair spread in all of your offices?
I think we have a fair spread of flats, but I don't think that cladding has been as popular a build material up here. I mean, Glasgow is a city centre landscape, and there's lots of flats. You walk around, there's blocks of flats everywhere. In Aberdeen, it's not quite the same. I was speaking to a colleague in a housing association recently, and they were saying that the demand for flats has gone, bottomed out nobody wants to be moved into a housing association flat anymore in Aberdeen.
Right.
They all
Wow.
want a house with a garden. So there's that sort of dynamic in the area. Then, developers are not in a hurry to put up big tall blocks of flats that where cladding would have been an efficient build material for them to use.
Yeah. I guess it is entirely different, isn't it, from a city point of view? Okay, so and I've known about this for obviously a while. You're not just in factoring; you have other things that you do too. Can you talk to us about the future and how you manage to have time to do all those other things?
Sometimes I wonder that myself, but I mean, I think Newton is my main focus, now and in the future. Yes, I have other interests, which are all sort of within that property sphere.
Yeah.
I do I've got a wee micro development company. So, we buy a building here and there, convert it into a couple of flats, or we buy dilapidated property, refurbish it and move it on. The key to that one is I've got a very good business partner. He's a former architect who does all of the on-site stuff, and all I have to worry about is the admin. I can batter that through of an evening. It doesn't take too much time.
Right. Okay.
And then I've got my own flat, and I've got a good agent there who looks after all those for me. So that makes life easier, and it leaves me free to focus on property factoring and all the joy that brings.
Yeah. No, good. and I noticed this morning on LinkedIn that you've announced your new CEO.
Yes.
Now I saw an article in Business Insider, so I guess Business Insider will catch up in the next few weeks or a couple of days or whatever as to who that is, or an article about that. But I remember reading the article in Business Insider a few months ago now from Stephen saying that you were looking for a CEO to kind of a non-customer facing CEO, not from industry. Or maybe he didn't say not from industry actually, but this person isn't that you've taken on is Karen Trickett, I think.
Trickett, yes.
Can you tell us a bit about that? If it's something you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. I think it comes back to my earlier point when I said that growth was the challenge for us. The company has tripled in size, and we've worked hard to upscale those processes to keep the pot boiling. But we recognised that if we wanted to continue to grow, we needed to do something very different, and we needed to take in somebody with a real proven track record in managing big businesses very efficiently. And Karen, I have to say, is a bit of a rock star of the Scottish business world. We're really enjoying having her on board. She's 3 days in so far, and I've seen the difference already.
Right. Okay.
So no, it's good. It's all positive from our perspective. We took a very well thought out and well planned out decision to appoint a CEO from outside the industry because we look around the industry and everybody's doing the same thing, and we want to be different. Newton was formed to be a disruptive factoring company 20 years ago, and we want to continue that same mentality as we grow forward.
I do get it. I mean, I absolutely do get it. And I guess other businesses maybe doing it a slightly different way. Maybe they bring in some non-exec directors or whatever from industry and these sort of things. So there's a number of different ways to kind of bring that expertise into the business. But yeah, I mean, you've got some cracking guys within your business. Great property management people. So it kind of makes sense to leave them in property management if that's what they're very, very good at. Yeah.
Exactly that. We are a property management company. We want to focus on the day job, but bringing Karen in will really help us get everything set up so that we can continue to grow and not have any teething problems. Yeah. If we've tripled in size over the last 7 years, who knows what the next 7 years will bring for us.
Yeah. It's a business end, isn't it? Which is the good thing.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else that you want to talk about that we haven't specifically touched on with any of those questions?
No, I think I've covered everything I want to cover.
Good. Excellent. Okay, so finally, as it's a new year, a Block Talk, we've changed our final questions to just one big thinker. Tell us something about you that people are generally surprised to find out about you.
That's a good question. I've had a wee think about that one. I think probably the fact that I spent 4 years doing a degree in entrepreneurship. That trait that allegedly can't be taught. I spent 4 years trying to learn that.
I didn't even know that even existed as a degree. So.
Neither did my parents until graduation day. They thought I was doing management studies until I was announced as a graduate in entrepreneurship.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think that's... Sorry, on you go.
No, on you go.
I was just going to say, do you think that has molded you or given you skills in your kind of in Newton, what and Co, then Newton, and also the stuff you do on your own?
Well, the course was really good. It talked about business planning and finance and raising capital and managing the business, etc. So I took all of that knowledge, and then I started Water & Co property management from a desk in my shared flat with no money, no knowledge, no plan, no experience, and no customers. So I'm not sure I really took it all on board. Some would say I've still got no knowledge in factoring, but there you go. But no, I think I've always been I had a keen eye for an opportunity, and at the time I'd just done my degree in entrepreneurship. I was working in the oil industry. I wasn't particularly enjoying it, and I was living in a block of flats where the factor was doing an appalling job, and that factor doesn't trade anymore. So I'm not giving away any secrets. And I thought, this is going to be easy. All I've got to do is contact all the fellow owners, collect the money, pay the contractors, and Bob's your uncle. It's going to be a piece of cake. And that was a steep learning curve.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine. Work out as well as I thought it would.
Yeah,
in the early days.
I guess it's actually quite difficult to change factor sometimes, because title deeds can be so restrictive. And and there's still a fair amount of apathy, client apathy, and where people are like, okay, just do it. I don't really want to attend anything. Just look after the building. So actually getting people to agree to do anything, let alone move factor, I guess is quite a difficult thing in some respects.
Yeah, it certainly was in those early days, but I persevered, and here I am.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Ross, thank you so much for coming on. That's been really, really useful. It's great to chat to you, and I'll catch up with you soon anyway. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.